Welcome to our graduation for kindergarten of 2017-2018. Also, welcome to our program today, The Wizard of Oz.
Trouble smells like raindrops away above the chimney top. But
Right here. Right there.
Dorothy and her little dog Toto lived on a small farm in Kansas. She loved Toto very much. But there was a mean lady that tried to take Toto. Dorothy wouldn't let her, no matter what. All of a sudden, there was a huge tornado. It was coming toward Dorothy and Toto. They couldn't find shelter. They ran and ran. They ran looking for shelter everywhere. They ran and ran and ran, and finally they ran to the house. The tornado lifted the house to a faraway land called Oz. The house landed. Boom! Dorothy and Toto came out of the house and saw a beautiful place. Right then, the Munchkins ran over to Dorothy. The Munchkins ran over to Dorothy, and the Good Witch came over to Dorothy. All of a sudden, oh my goodness, the Bad Witch came. The Bad Witch came and circled and went around and round with the Bad Witch on the broom, going around and round. The Bad Witch stopped right at Dorothy. Dorothy was wearing the ruby red shoes. The Good Witch said to the Bad Witch, "You have no power here. You must go." So, the Bad Witch left. Dorothy was wearing the ruby red shoes. The Good Witch said, "Dorothy, you must follow the yellow brick road to Emerald City. There you will meet the Wizard of Oz. He can help you get home." So then the Good Witch and the Munchkins went back to the forest. So Dorothy and Toto started following the yellow brick road. We're off to see the wizard.
Because the one of the things he does. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
On the way, she met a scarecrow. He wanted a brain so bad. So Dorothy said, "I know, we'll go see the wizard." So they went off to see the wizard.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Because the wonderful things he does. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
While they were walking through the forest, they found, oh my goodness, a Tin Man. Oh, the Tin Man told him a long story of how sad it was to get all in the rain. He got all rusty, couldn't move, and he was telling him all the stories, and he said, "My goodness, I just want to have a heart." Dorothy looked at him and said, "I know. If we go to the wizard, you could go with us, and maybe the wizard will give you a heart." So off they went to see the wizard.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Because the wonderful things he does. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
As they were still walking through the forest, all of a sudden, they found a big apple orchard. Dorothy said, "Oh, I'm so hungry." They were all so hungry, but the apple trees were mean. The apple trees started throwing apples at them. And then the apple trees ran back into the forest where they couldn't be found. So Dorothy and her new friends decided they need to run really fast to get to Emerald City to see the wizard. So
We're off to see the wizard. Wonderful in Oz. Because it's the one of the things he does. We're off to see the wizard. Wonderful wizard of Oz. Stop it.
all of a sudden, the bad witch came out of the forest. The bad witch came out of the forest and went over to Dorothy. And flew around Dorothy, and flew around her and her friends. The bad witch tried to take the ruby red shoes off, but she couldn't again. So she was very angry, and the bad witch decided she would fly away back into the forest.
You didn't even do the party part yet.
At that time, the bad witch had a long talk with her soldiers, and the bad witch decided to send her soldiers over to Dorothy. So her soldiers she sent her soldiers and tried and capture Dorothy. So they went over, the soldiers went over and got into a circle around Dorothy. They made a big circle around Dorothy. And they went all the way around Dorothy, trying to make her so dizzy that they could capture her. But they couldn't. So they ran back into the forest. They failed when they had to talk to the bad witch. Again, the bad witch said, "You failed, soldiers." So the bad witch went back. The bad witch went back to Dorothy to try and take the shoes off her again. The bad witch leaned down, tried to take the shoes off, but Dorothy lifted up a pail of water and threw the water on the bad witch. And the bad witch started to melt.
I'm melting!
At that time, the lion ran over because the lion wanted to have courage. The lion decided to take the bad witch and take the bad witch back into the forest to show the lion had courage. So the lion and the bad witch went back into the forest really fast. And then the lion came back because the lion was back. The lion went back and they all decided, I know, we're going to go see the wizard. So Dorothy and the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the lion went off to the wizard.
We're off to see the wizard, the one wizard of Oz, We're off to see the wizard, the one wizard of Oz. Let's go back. My shoes are tied again.
The wizard came out of his castle. And the wizard said, I am the great and powerful Oz.
I am the great and powerful Oz.
And the wizard put his hands on the shoulders of the lion and says, you now have courage. And then the wizard put his hands on the shoulders of the Tin Man and said, you now have a heart.
You now have a heart.
And then the wizard put his hands on the Scarecrow and said, "You now have a brain."
You now have a brain.
The wizard said, "You have always had these things,
You have always had these things.
but you proved it when you helped others and when you helped Dorothy." Then the good witch came back to see Dorothy. She said, "Dorothy, you too have always had the power to go home. Now, Dorothy, click your shoes 3 times and say, there's no place like home.
There's no place like home. There's no place